Well, some of you may have jealousy and envy. You'd like to be Donald Trump, but I think in today's world, I'm not sure I'd want to be. This world we're living in is so chaotic, and the President Trump is faced with ISIS insurgency. He's faced with a terrible, barbaric gas attack in Syria. He's faced with mounting threats of South Korea. He's faced with disintegration of the EU. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and the Russians are doing stuff. I mean, it's not easy. But if you ever need to pray for somebody, it's that. But we're going to talk about what the problems facing the president, and also the big news, which has to do with the Supreme Court of the United States. Terry.
Well, today, President Trump is meeting with the leader of China, and they'll be talking about that deadly nuclear threat from North Korea. Dale Hurd has the story.
There's no mystery over what will be on the agenda when the leaders of the U.S. and China meet for the first time today at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. North Korea will be one. On Wednesday, the nation known as the Hermit Kingdom launched another medium-range ballistic missile.
North Korea, we have a big problem. We have somebody that is not doing the right thing, and that's going to be my responsibility.
Clearly, Trump would like to see China putting more pressure on North Korea. As you know, China would like to see the U.S. opening direct negotiations with North Korea.
And the other big issue on the agenda is trade. Trump has already tweeted that the U.S. can no longer have massive trade deficits with China.
And then you've got a long list of issues of common concern, all the way from the South China Sea to Taiwan.
And in another foreign policy challenge, the chemical weapons attack that killed at least 72 people in Syria seems to have changed President Trump's perception of the war there and the Russian-backed Assad regime. Before becoming president, Trump had said Syria is not our problem. But now he says
that attack on children yesterday had a big impact on me. Big impact. My attitude toward Syria and Assad has changed very much.
At an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council, Russia continued to deny that the Syrian government was behind it. And the Syrian foreign minister said today his country never used and will not use chemical weapons in Syria. But U.S. Ambassador Nikki Haley said the facts were undeniable.
There are times in the life of states that we are compelled to take our own action.
But President Trump was non-committal over whether the U.S. would take action against Syria and told reporters if he were, he's certainly not going to tell them. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thanks, Dale. Boy, he's down there negotiating with China, and here we've got to face this chemical attack. Senator John McCain had a good point yesterday, and I think he's well spoken on this one. We can set up a no-fly zone over Syria and just say, look, if you put any aircraft in the air, we're going to shoot it down, and just tell the Russians, get out of their way unless you want a shooting war, because we're going to be in there in force. And I think we can do that and just say, look, you don't fly anymore. And then we start clamping down on trade. But, you know, Bashar Assad is trained as a doctor in Europe. And you think he's a man of medicine, a man of healing. He's turned out to be a butcher as bad as his father. And this chemical attack is an outrage. So we've got to do something. Well, there's something else going on, a showdown being imposed upon the president. It looks like there's no way out. When the Senate votes tomorrow, Republicans are going to have to use what's called the nuclear option to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Our CBN News White House correspondent Jennifer Wishon brings us that.
It looks like Republicans will have to go nuclear, or at the very least, get creative if they want to fulfill their promise to put Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Democrats are unwavering in their resistance, employing tactics like long, dramatic speeches on the Senate floor.
This is an extreme nominee from the far right who doesn't believe in the fundamental vision of we the people and makes decision after decision through tortured, twisted, contrived arguments to find for the powerful over the people.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, tells CBN News Democrats are playing political games with Gorsuch, despite his first-rate qualifications.
We're talking about Neil Gorsuch, an appellate judge in the U.S. Circuit Court whose academic credentials, judicial temperament, and judicial record are beyond reproach.
The American Bar Association gave Gorsuch its highest possible rating. Now, conservatives are asking if Democrats will go after a nominee as qualified as Judge Gorsuch, then who will they accept from President Trump's list of potential nominees?
What's unprecedented here in the 228-year history of the institution of the United States Senate is a partisan filibuster. It's very, very unfortunate.
A number of Democrats now against Gorsuch were first for him. Those who were in the Senate in 2006 when President George W. Bush nominated Gorsuch to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, and he was confirmed unanimously. Despite the political games, Republicans say they're not deterred. Conway says the president knows his commitment to appoint a nominee with fidelity to the Constitution is one of the reasons evangelicals supported him in record numbers.
Neil Gorsuch is qualified. He will be confirmed. He will sit on the United States Supreme Court very soon. We are confident in that.
We'll all find out Friday. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, the White House.
It's gotten so bitter up there. I tell you, if John Marshall was put up for the Supreme Court, they'd vote him down as being unqualified. If James Madison was up there, they'd vote him down. Anybody that Trump proposes would be voted down, and the Republicans recognize that the Democrats are just playing the rawest kind of politics. And for that man to rant on about how far off the mainstream, this man is one of the best qualified judicial nominees we have ever had for the Supreme Court. And when you think that the decisions he's made have been backed up by his fellow judges almost all 95, 98% of the time, it's unbelievable. So anyhow, it's coming up tomorrow, and I think it looks like the Democrats are going to kill themselves. I mean, if they force the Republicans to use this nuclear option, next judge is going to be a whole lot more conservative, a whole lot less qualified than Gorsuch, and they can put him through with a simple majority. Well, Jay Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice is with us. And Jay, do you have any idea into the mind of the Democrats? Why are they doing this?
Well, they're getting a lot of pressure, Pat, from the groups on the left, from Planned Parenthood and others, to do this really suicide mission regarding this filibuster. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we all know this, you and I know this, that tomorrow evening, Judge Gorsuch will put his hand on the Bible sometime tomorrow night and be sworn in as the Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, because the Republicans will change the rule, and it's not really a rule, the precedent on the cloture, 60-vote cloture precedent. They'll change it, the so-called nuclear option, which is nothing nuclear about it, by the way. It's the Constitution doesn't mandate the 60 votes to get something to the floor of the Senate. So here's what we're going to have. The Democrats have decided, and you said it so perfectly just a moment ago, they are attacking Judge Gorsuch and his credentials for a seat fulfilling that that was lost by the passing of our friend Justice Antonin Scalia. So the net effect of the voting, if you look at it on a block, is no different. This is just replacing Justice Scalia. So they're gonna utilize the filibuster now, and then when we have another vacancy, potentially even this summer, then they're done. So this will be the Supreme Court for way beyond my life and your life. I mean, this could be the Supreme Court for the next 40 or 60 years. And, you know, as it starts playing out here, I mean, certainly the next 40 years. And to me, it makes no sense what the Democrats are doing, but they're getting pressure from the left, and that's why they're doing it.
Well, Jay, again, I'm baffled, but it may be they don't see the strategic plan. I mean, the plan is laid out. The thing of it is, Harry Reid set this deal in motion. They can't blame the Republicans on this nuclear option. Reid did it.
You're exactly correct. And here's what you've got. If you look at the age of the justices being nominated now, so Judge Gorsuch is in his late 40s, others that are now just turning 55, when you think of Kagan, Sotomayor just turned 60. So let's say President Trump gets 3 more selections in the next 4 years, and be more than that in 8, you're talking about judges that would be going on the court now in the next 3 years in their late 40s, mid to late 40s. So what have you got? Judges that are going to serve probably for 30 or 40 years. So this is the Supreme Court for 2 generations. And the Democrats are playing with fire here. But you know what? They do it good. Let's get this guy confirmed. We have to put up with this nonsense the next time around.
What Reid put in was for circuit courts. So I understand there may be some openings on the D.C. circuit, which would be a major, major coup if Trump could put some on that court, too.
Yeah, because the D.C. Circuit is the second most powerful court in the country, and this is because a lot of the regulatory issues, governmental issues, our case involving the IRS where we beat them back on those Tea Party attacks, and won that case. It was at the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. So that's, no, you're exactly correct. It's the second most powerful court in the country, and I think with more vacancies coming there, you're going to see, you could see a shift dramatically over 4 to 8 years in the federal courts, no question about it.
I guess we're all concerned about this thing with Susan Rice. How do you take, you wrote an op-ed about it. What's your take on it?
You know, Pat, I think a grand jury, and it may well be done right now, I think a grand jury needs to be impaneled by the Justice Department. They need to be looking at violations of the FISA laws, but also, you know, simple espionage and conspiracy to commit espionage. The unmasking of this material is one thing, but the leaking of it is the crime. But for Susan Rice's action, this would have not been put into play. So when you're looking at that as a former government lawyer, what I look at is who are the various players and what did they do collectively? So I look at their individual actions, then I look at what kind of communications they've had with each other, and that's how you put a conspiracy case together. I was talking to one of our senior lawyers, who you know, of course, Andy Economou, was a former U.S. attorney, and we said this is a conspiracy case. That's how you'd start this. It's a violation of the espionage, specifically 18 U.S.C. 793F. If the facts prove out to be the way they look. But I think, look, I think Susan Rice is going to take the Fifth Amendment privilege. I think she's going to try to claim executive privilege. She's going to do everything she can to not have to testify. She unmasked it. She put it in motion. Need to be looking at her and others to see where this conspiracy goes.
How do you see it? Do you think she might wind up doing some time?
Well, that's going to be, you know, will the Justice Department impanel a grand jury? That's question one. Hopefully that's already being done, and we don't need to know about that. That needs to be happening. Number two, the various intelligence committees are going to talk to her. I heard yesterday from some of our friends on Capitol Hill, Pat, friends of yours and mine in the United States Senate and the House, that they are planning on bringing Sally Yates, who was that acting attorney general, in. They're talking about bringing Loretta Lynch in. They're talking about John Brennan. They're talking about a number of Clapper, James Clapper, so a number of intelligence officials to find out what in the world was going on, because people keep calling this surveillance, but it's starting to look like, to me, like spying on the opposing political party. And that, you know, in a constitutional republic, we should not be accepting that as normal behavior. That's not normal. That's not the usual politics of the moment. That's spying on your opponent.
My dear brother, on a personal note, I understand that there's a blockage in one of your arteries coming out of your heart, and you're still on Hannity and you're on this show. Are you ever going to rest and get that thing fixed?
Oh yeah, we're going to be fine. Thank you for asking that. No, everything's going to be fine. We'll be good. I'll tell you this. Pam said to me yesterday, she goes, you know, a break would be good. Taking a break might be good. So
all right. Well, listen,
we'll see.
Please know we're praying for you, and God bless you.
I appreciate it.
Tremendous job.
Thanks,
Jay Sekulow, wonderful attorney, wonderful voice for a reason, head of the ACLJ, and my dear friend. I guess I'm the head of it. I'm the president of it, but he's the general counsel.
Well, we will be praying for him.
He's a distinguished lawyer, and boy, he's on top of this one.